Peace, peace, peace. Did you know that there is one company that owns like four of the most popular brands? Or at one point, they owned four of the most popular brands. This company, they owned Timberland, North Face, Vans, and Supreme. Now, of course, all of these companies didn't start out, or I should say, this particular company didn't start out by making those brands, but these companies were separately developed and then bought and purchased by this one company. The company's history started back in 1899. They were known as the Reading Glove and Mitten Manufacturing Company, right? That's what they started out as. Then they got into silk lingerie in 1913, and that kind of gave them more of the sales and the profits that they needed. And then eventually they changed their name to Vanity Fair Mills. One of their biggest purchases was the Lee Jean Company. And then they also ended up buying the Wrangler Jean Company as well. The name of the company is called VFC. VFC currently, they just recently sold Supreme in 2021 to an Italian company. See, that is the importance of knowing business, because just like I'm getting into business and trying to develop my company, you got to know business where you could actually sell your company and make money and get paid. Now, people may look at me and think that I'm stupid and dumb, and that's like, no, I'm not dumb or I'm not slow. What it is that I'm trying to change the narrative where we as original Americans, we always get the shitty end of the stick and we always are going after quick money. But when you play the long game and you learn and you study and you develop your business acumen, then you get to understand how this shit works, right? People have offered me some of the most disrespectful things for a brand that I know can become a powerhouse. I know it can. So I'm not just your average sneakerhead. I just put up a tweet saying that the three things that are my hobbies is music, sneakers, and books, right? I can show you my book collection. I like, when I read books, I like to read occult and spirituality books. I don't really like to read fiction. I save that for the movies and for the TV shows. I have a huge music collection. Like, I still have my CDs. I still even can find my tapes from back in the day. That is a hobby. When I go buy sneakers, I have a formula that I love sneakers. Like, those are the three things while I'm here. I'm not going to get weird, but I'm going to enjoy my life through sneakers, music, and while I'm coming up with designs and developing my sweatshirts and whatnot, I study and I look into the backgrounds and history of a lot of the brands that we like. And one of the brands that I've been looking at is VFC, which is Vanity Fair's corporation. And when you do the digging, you find out that they own Timberland, they own Vans, and they own North Face. And 4 years ago, they recently just sold Supreme. They owned Supreme. Think about this. All these companies, and they have more companies than that, like JanSport. They got a ton of companies, but this is how business works, right? All these companies were started separately, and when you get to a point where you become a number four, an investor, you know what I'm saying? You're a business owner, but then you become an investor where you you do so good in business that you just start buying and investing in other companies, et cetera, et cetera. This one company at one point owned 4 of the most popular brands in the world: Vans, North Face, Supreme, and Timberland, all owned by one company at one point, right? This is what I do, man. Like, I study brands, I look at brands, I try to learn more about brands, and like they say, follow the money. So yeah, and like I said, they owned Lee at one point, they owned Wrangler, they owned JanSport. This is how business works. Recently in the news, we just found out that Anta bought Puma. So yeah, man, like I said, Jordan, Nike gonna always be my favorite brand, but I started to look into other brands and just, learn things about other brands. You know what I'm saying? You have to, if you want to be a business owner and you want to be successful, you got to study. You got to study how the billionaires and the giants do it. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to VFC. You might want to look into them, learn their history. Huge conglomerate corporation known as Vanity Fair Mills, formerly known as Vanity Fair Mills, but I guess they just go as like the VFC, the VF Corporation now. Like I said, they own Supreme. They just recently sold Supreme 4 years ago. They own Vans, they own North Face, and they own Timberland. Peace.